you have a relearning?
Oh, yeah. Make sure that you know which trim is going on the door. You don't want to be taking it down twice. Make sure your 45s are correct as well. That way they look really nice. You don't have to caulk as much. I would say your spacing behind it, as we pointed out at first as well. And that's about it. I mean, just kind of watch the little things, you know. But yeah, that's what I had to relearn.
I had to relearn the GFIs. I had only done them once a long time ago, and I hadn't done them on the last build. So I had to get refreshed on how those all go together. That my screwdriver has a square bit that can work to put these outlets in so much better and not strip the screws. And it works way, way, way better than your flathead or your Phillips. So use the square bit, do yourself a favor, and you will not regret it. You'll save yourself lots of time and energy, and you probably also will be able to take your screws on and off. I have a couple that they're on there. I don't know if you're going to be able to get them off. Not exactly a mistake, but as I was trying to wire one of our outlets, one of the neutral wires just snapped off in my hand right back way into there. So we are going to have to fix that. And what we learned from that is don't mess with your wires. Do not play with them and crunch them up and uncrunch them a bunch of times because they are very fragile and they eventually will become so brittle and weak from being manipulated that when I touched it very gently, I wasn't messing around with it. It just broke off in my hand. So what we're going to have to do is add a junction box down here out of sight behind the stove, and then extend this wiring and make sure that we have a solid connection between these two outlets. So that's just a mistake that happened over time with however many people have been through here, touching these wires, adjusting them and changing them, and you know, we had to shove them in the wall to do the drywall, and then we pulled them back out, and so they just got bothered too many times and they've kind of given up. So just be gentle with your wires, touch them once, put them away, and leave them alone.
Yes, sir.
And what you learned from that?
Just putting the wrong trim up on the door.
Baseboard is not casing.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it wasn't by me at the time, so I was like, God, and I just put out baseboard. So just take the time and look for the right material. Other than that, I would say I learned countertops today. That was pretty cool to learn. Cutouts and everything. How to get your proper measurements for your sink. And staining it with, well, not staining it, but putting mineral oil on it. Which is okay.
And one last thing that Rick reminded us of, until your countertops are stained, and even if they are, just be very careful. Don't put drinks on them. Don't put any cold beverages, hot beverages, anything like that is going to make a stain. Even your hands, even the oils on your hands, if you're touching them a lot with bare hands before they're sealed, may stain it. Mm-hmm. So just try to keep these really clean. Keep your hands off of them. Keep things off of them.
You don't want to sand it twice.
You do not want to sand these down and start over. So keep them clean and then seal them as soon as possible. For the work on the counters, it's kind of like back and forth. It was a little bit awkward. Only one person can be cutting out the sink at a time. But there is a lot of sawdust and a lot of mess that gets generated. And the last thing we want is like these drawers and cabinets to be full of sawdust and debris after. So if you're not the partner who's doing all the cutting and measuring, then be the one that's cleaning, get the sawhorses in, get them out of the way, make sure that you're getting all the screws and different items that your partner might need, just to keep things flowing. And then every time that there's a stopping point, for example, we ran out of sandpaper today and we had to wait, switch to something else. So we switched to outlets, JC switched to the door casing, we kept it moving, we didn't stop at any time. Good morning. So today we're going to finish up our countertops as well as some of our electrical trim out and any touch-up work that might need to be done. So for our countertops, we're going to want a level. We will need our circular saw to do some of the cuts, and we will want to get a jigsaw from the tool room for some of the other cuts. Obviously, you're going to need to measure and mark as you're going. And of course, you know, your trusty speed square always comes in handy for that. You will need your finishing hammer as well, just for setting a couple of nails. And you probably will need your knife for opening packaging and just general small items. You'll also need your clamps for some of the cutting and measuring with the countertops, and a drill with one of these extenders so you can put on the special drill bits for the cabinet screws that we use. For the outlets, you're going to want your small level, your pliers, and a screwdriver with a couple different tips. You're going to want to use your square tip, the flathead, and also the Phillips. So you'll need all of those. And then for some of the other touch-up work, you may need your caulking gun if you have any issues with some of the caulk drying up or shrinking or any spots that got missed. And that's what we will need today. Today's countertop day. We're going to wait for Dan. He's out running a couple errands, so he's going to come in and instruct us on the countertop since neither of us have done that before. In the meantime, JC is patching up a couple little areas where we noticed after we painted that some silicone was missing, it had dried up or it had shrank in the meantime. So he's just going to patch those up and hit them with some touch-up paint. And I am going to throw some outlet covers on.
So I'm actually caulking any open spots. You can kind of see them right here. See that little like hole right there, up there as well. So those are open spots that water could seep through, and you don't want that because obviously it's just going to mess up your siding, your house, and everything else. So I'm going ahead and just touching those up, making sure they're fully caulked all the way through, and make sure no water gets through them, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. That's all I'm doing here.
We're just getting this set up.
He's
we've
at the
got one
dump.
board out and on the counter, and I'm going to get this other one out of its packaging. We've got our sawhorses in here so that we can cut the countertop. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one full slab going this way, and then the second one we're going to cut it so it'll fit on this island or on this little area here, and then the cut piece we will join together with this one that'll be over here.
All right, we're getting ready to install our kitchen countertops. The first thing we're going to do is take this top and run it lengthwise from right to left on this end. And we're going to check to see how it fits the wall. If we've got to scribe the back of it to get it to fit. And we want to make sure our length is long enough.
Okay.
So we're going to swing it around. Yeah, those tops are solid wood. They're not light. Watch your fingers.
Yeah, so there's a little wobble. It bows out in the middle. So you can see if I flush it here.
Yeah. So
got a gap over there.
what we try to do is equal out the gap. And then what we're going to do is scribe it in the middle. Our length is perfect.
So
How are we on that end?
3/8 over here. This end, it actually bows out the other way. So you see in the middle, there's a gap, but the ends touch.
The ends touch. So we're going to leave that because we can caulk that in. I think it's going to look fine. Otherwise, we'd have to trim off a little on each end. But our length is pretty good right here. What do you got? Quarter?
Yeah, so it's a little bit.
Just a hair. That should do it. Good?
Yeah, I'm like under 3. It's like right between 1/4 and 3/8 now.
So what we want to do, where are those blocks that were in here?
Oh, the spacers?
Yeah.
I put them over with the flooring because I didn't know we'd use them for counter.
So typically what I do is describe it. That's perfect right there. So what we want to do is we slide this down and mark the countertop.
This is blowing my mind right now. I pictured something much, much, much more complicated.
Isn't that easy?
Yeah, that was really straightforward.
Yep. So that now is how much we've got to take and cut out of this or sand out of it. So I'm not sure if we have belt sanders here or what kind of sanders we have. So let's run some tape on it and do that scribe all over again.
He's brave. I'm gonna go grab some tape. So JC's gonna be brave, and he's gonna try to do this little tiny cut all the way along the edge
a lot
with
of
a
people
saw.
have them in their buckets.
And so in order to do that, we want to actually tape over that edge so we don't get splintering and unsightly marks. So we're going to tape over it and scribe it one more time so that he can cut over this tape. So does it need to wrap around the corner or just goes flat on top?
Just if you can get it over.
It's gonna cutting that small amount off could splinter the countertop more than it's worth. Where if we take the belt sander, we can have a little better control of it. You would have cut it fine? Nah. As long as it bevels down, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're going to set it in place and check to see how we did on our scribing.
Maybe. I wonder if they cut
He's got a little bevel to it, maybe.
Oh, there's some debris.
Just slide it in. No, it's got a bevel. If you look, your crack's good all the way down. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? So he's just got a bevel on it that he's got to take off. But your top's good, so just you can over bevel the bottom a little bit more, and that typically happens. Yeah, you got a pretty good bevel on it. JC's done a great job on the top. We've matched it to the wall. He's got a little bevel to the countertop, so we're going to take some of the bevel off so it'll fit in closer to the wall. He's got his top scribed real good to the line that we provided, and he's just got a little bevel he's got to take off, and they'll fit this thing maybe a couple more times to make sure everything's looking good.
You know what? Even here where you haven't even, well, I guess first of all, yeah, this is level. Even here where you haven't done it, it sticks out.
Ooh, look at that.
Not better. Some caulking? Or do you think more sanding? Or
Nope, I think you're good.
good?
Yep.
You say so now?
Okay.
So we screw it down? Or
Nope.
no?
Now,
Now.
we're going to cut our sinkhole out.
Woo! Don't we need to screw it down before we start?
No, because here's the thing. If we cut it out now, mount the sink to it, you can put those your anchors in to hold the sink. Otherwise, you're underneath there trying to do it. So you tell me which way you'd rather do it.
I've never done it, so whatever way you tell me. Because I don't understand what you're saying. So
There's
we'll cut it out, and then we'll
Flip it over, put the sink in it, and then anchor it down while it's out.
Instead of
And then flip it back, instead of going underneath.
We're marking the
we're
center of our
of the sink. Don't mark it too much, because you're gonna have to sand all that out. So now, our box said it's got to be 25 by 22, but let's measure real quick. Double check. You want to get a measurement from here to here. No, no, from your tabs. This is where
Oh,
it's
from my
gonna fit
tabs?
in.
From the inside or
Right there.
from the inside of the tab?
No,
Or
it'd be the outside because that's got to fit
yeah,
in the
the
hole.
outside, yeah.
So you've got 24 and
Half. 24 half, I'd say.
24 and a half. Where does 25 hit? Just
That's
by
like the
what we
outside to the outside.
25 hits.
see that. Good thing we didn't cut it 25,
Yeah.
right?
24 half and then 21 half.
Yep.
So
So now, off of this, you want to do your 25 and a half.
But where do we want it to sit?
Well, typically on a sink,
Look out, Jason.
you want about 3 inches in the front to the edge of your sink, roughly. So where's your tape measure? So we know the bowl of the sink's about there, so we're about 3.5 there. So that's about where you want to have your sink, is about 3 inches in. So if that's the case, your cut would be 2 inches in.
2 inches in.
Okay. Yep. So we'd actually be, I'm
One
sorry,
and a
about
half.
1.5.
Yeah.
I thought I was
Yeah, you were right.
misunderstanding. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's where your front cut would be. 1.5. Where does that take us? But this won't hit anything, so we're okay. And your bowl's back a little bit. We've got about 1.5 inches from the
Inch and a
front,
half.
and this would be right at the front there. So that look good?
And is this? That's for sure centered with this.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
do
I
we
was
make
just
sure-
adjusting.
Just measure it. And make
Yeah,
sure?
measure off of here. So you know you're
24 half.
24 and a half?
Yep.
So you'd be 12.25 going off the center line each way.
Yeah. I gotcha.
And then we decided this was how much?
1.5.
1.5?
Yeah.
So take this off.
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am. Sorry.
I take that as a compliment.
So on these, also, I wouldn't square my corner, I would round them.
Round them, yeah.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
you're cutting them out.
I getcha.
So you're 12.25, 12.25?
Yes, sir. 12.25.
24 and a half?
And then my other line's right there.
You're looking good. So now you want to square a line back.
Right.
And the trick on doing that is check your radius.
Mm-hmm.
Cheat. Right? So that'll give you a radius. Yep. There's your radius.
Nice. Nice.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Makes it a lot easier.
Little template.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to look at the size of the blade because we know on a full stroke this will come down to about right here. So we only got to be through the countertop. So you can see right here where the stroke hits. So we know that that's long enough to go through the whole countertop. He's lowering the blade into the countertop, and that's what we call a plunge cut, when you plunge it into the countertop. So he's going to
Line up the
slowly
blade.
lower it into the... So what he does, he takes his cut up to where the radius starts because he doesn't want to run his line cut past that. He'll bring this saw back this way to finish this cut, or he can cut it with a jigsaw.
That's true.
Then he's going to do a plunge cut on this side, and this side. Done. What we're going to do is drive a couple nails on an angle to support the countertop, so when they cut the corners, the countertop doesn't fall through. We'll come this way on this one, put it down in the hole.
The blade is, I'm not going to push the blade forward, but I am going to push it sideways to get around the curve.
Push it a little forward,
Okay.
yeah, because it won't take it by itself.
All right.
You gonna work out your 4 ounce today?
Ooh, okay. And you have to push it down.
Back her up a bit and then
Okay.
bring it in.
There's just one little spot you can look underneath and see where it seems like the blade is maybe skipping, and so it's not cutting.
You can pull that nail out.
Yeah, watch out, Edgar. Whoop, there it is.
There it was. Hang on. You got a nail stuck right there. The other thing is, she's got it cut on a little bevel. So I bet it'll pop out the bottom.
Oh.
Hand me that hammer. Will it drop down?
Yeah.
What if we just come this way? That's still stuck.
Yeah. Got it?
Yep.
Cutting board. What are we doing with those pieces?
Making cutting boards.
Okay.
Why did you want one?
Yeah.
What do you think, guys?
Very nice.
Good job.
Yeah.
How's it feel?
Looks really good.
Oh, we're keeping it.
Yeah. Oh, we can tie it in.
Yeah, just flip her down. The sink will be held in place.
Sweet. So you have a little play here. Does it need to be flush or?
They should.
So here.
If that's too big for that, then you figure, okay, then you got to bring it
Not going to be long enough.
down.
That hooks on this, like that, but your screw's not long enough. They didn't give us longer screws.
Okay.
So on a typical 3/4 inch countertop, this would fit
How do you
just
get
like
the
that.
screws there?
It spins in. It's counterclockwise.
Wow.
But they're not long enough, so it looks like these are going to be glued in.
Okay.
Siliconed in.
Not power grab, just silicone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the screws that they send are made for a 3/4 inch countertop that come with the sink. So we're actually going to silicone this in and set it in place. We had a good idea, but the screws that were sent are too short. So we can go ahead and flip this back over and set it in and get going on our next piece. Let's anchor this top where we want it to go, and then we'll start fitting our next piece. And you've got the 2-inch screws.
Yeah. Sorry, you got the bit?
Well, what we're going to do is clamp the countertop down onto the cabinet so that when he's putting his screws
Not long
in,
enough.
the countertop doesn't lift up. Are they long enough?
Nope. So we're going to jig.
You're kidding me. No, so those aren't long enough.
But I can jig them.
Can you hook it right here?
Yeah, but that bends that part up. So that's what you do. You jig it.
That way, as he's screwing up the countertop, it's not lifting up on him.
So do this side, or that would be good with this side?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Do it from inside.
Like a drywall screw?
Well, what do you got? 3/4 of an inch?
Yeah.
What'd you have here? Is that about 3/4?
No.
Thickness?
Maybe. I don't know. Let me see.
So this might only be a 1/2 inch.
You got about half.
Yeah, what I'd use on this is the short drywall screws.
Yeah.
And screw it through this up into the countertop.
Okay. I am actually putting in screws through the Lazy Susan. So we have to go underneath here and capture at least 2 to 3 screws in there. And that's how you do that.
And then that cuts a groove right here, and you take those biscuits right there and slip it in, and it'll keep it from, it's like a dowel.
Oh, okay, okay. And so instead of having to do it by hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Biggest thing is you want to make sure that you get that centered in the countertop. So we'll measure that, because you can see when you push on it, see how that blade comes out?
Yeah.
And that sets that. And then we've got to set it for our biscuit size.
Okay.
Because you see how far that plunges in? So that's got to be half
And
the
if you only
size
have
of your...
like 1/2 inch biscuits.
Right, exactly. So you adjust that to where it goes in just that far.
Gotcha.
This one, we can see a few sandy marks on it. So let's flip it over, see what our other side looks like. Much cleaner looking. You like this
it's the
better?
back side.
Back side, okay. So we're going to have to do a little sanding on them.
Yep. There you go.
It's going to fit really nice. So what we're trying to do is line that up right here. Looks good. So we can go ahead and cut this in. So let's take it over
To the
saw horses, yeah.
Oh.
All right, now what size are we going to cut it?
You want to go with the longest measurement.
Go with 10 and 7/8. Because we can always sand it. Now these nails are going to have to be tapped in. We're going to be cutting this countertop. So now you're marking it about where you want it. Put some tape on there.
Okay.
All the way around. So that kind of gives you a guideline where you got to run your tape.
All right. Come on now.
Or you clamp. Now, do you know how far back your saw cuts? No, don't do that. No. I'll show you an easier way to do this. Do you know how far your saw cuts from the edge? Is from right here to the blade.
Right.
So you got from this edge to your blade, what do you have? And do it to your tooth that's the farthest.
On my teeth, it is 1 3/8.
So 1 3/8. So do a mark back 1 3/8 each way. 1 3/8 back. Put a pencil mark as a small one so you can. Okay. Same thing there. And then you clamp your, you'll clamp your level to that pencil mark. Make sure it's good and tight so it doesn't move. So what I would do is double check. Put your tape against here and make sure you got your 1 3/8. You get one cut. As your guide, run it right down that, and that should give you a nice straight cut. Yep. All right. When he was doing his saw,
we don't have orbitals.
He's got a lip right there that we're going to have to take out. Good thing is it fits over by the stove.
We don't have it.
We don't have little sanders?
Not the orbital ones.
But we know we want to measure from that end to here.
Yep.
Cut this end. So what do we got right here? We want to give this a little overhang?
Yeah. Like what, like a 1/2 inch?
Yeah, I would. So just add a half to your measurement.
Okay. 42.5.
42.5. It won't be the same.
It won't be
So
the same.
just because you're in. So 42.5.
Okay.
You want to run your tape? Put tape on it?
Oh, yeah. Bam!
So if you want to slip that up there and see how it fits.
Watch. I think if we put it up on this side, and go ahead and cut the other side. Oh yeah, look at. She's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little higher.
Yeah, but our biscuits will get all that out.
Yeah. All right. So I'll measure from this side.
We have some extra material, so we're going to go ahead and make another cut and use that piece instead. And then a biscuit joiner. You want to see how it works?
Yeah.
We'll do a sample on this piece right here.
Yeah, scrap piece.
Biscuit joiner is how you attach two pieces of wood together. This is a biscuit. Our machine actually cuts a groove in it to where this slips halfway in. So that keeps any deflection from happening when you put the two countertops together. So we'll glue this, glue the biscuit in, and we'll clamp it all together. Take your pencil and we'll do one mark. Now watch. So that you're lined up center-wise each side. So let's say we want to put 3 in.
Mm-hmm.
So that pencil mark is where you would line that guide up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the center of your cut.
Okay.
And then you'll do 3 of them. So wherever you want the 3 to hit, usually the same distance in from the end, and then 1 in the center.
Okay.
So do your pencil marks, and then you line it up with that. So let's do a pencil mark right here in the middle.
Good.
So we see that center mark?
Yep.
That's where you want to do it. You turn it on and push it into its material. And you take your biscuit.
Yes.
And your biscuit slips
Right in.
right into that.
Nice. Sweet. That thing's awesome.
So you'll do 3 of them, and that keeps these countertops from never deflecting from one side, so you won't get around in it. So we'll do, and that the line lines them up center-wise each way. To this one from the, you can practice on that one first. Push it in. Simple little toy.
Sweet.
This is how you make furniture and stuff. You'll use this biscuit joiner, and it'll It'll join the two together. No, that was more. There's two more. Just like that. And when you glue it,
So perfect.
mm-hmm.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
And that keeps that from ever getting a bow in it. This one, you might be able to just put your pencil on edge.
Gotcha.
And run it down the wall. It's a little more, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you might have to do it twice. Scribe it once,
Grab
sand
it
those off, and then put it again and scribe it again.
Yeah.
So I am just finishing up this outlet that will be for the garbage disposal here under the sink. In our plans, it's called a half hot because we have a switch up there to turn it on and off. However, the way that we wired this, Corey informed me, this is actually called a full hot. So we are not setting this up as a half hot. So what we have here, this is our switch leg. This goes directly to the power. This is where the power comes in. This will transfer the power into the outlet and then it will come out the neutral. This neutral actually goes up to the light switch. And the light switch can flick on and that sends power back down through this black one. So this white cord and this black cord wire go together and these two come out together. So these two are going to the home run and these two are going to the light switch. So we're splitting them apart. So we have part of it from the light switch, or part of it from the home run, part of it from the light switch, and then the other two. So that completes a circle. It goes up to the light switch, comes back down to the outlet, and then goes back to the main power box. So we're going to put these two together, the neutral from the switch leg and the power, the hot from the light switch. We're going to twist these together and put a wire nut on them. I always have to double check which way. So you want righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and you're going to do your wires in the same direction. So what we want to happen is that, I've done these in the wrong way now and they don't want to come undone. We want them to continue twisting in the same direction when the wire nut goes on there. So let me see if I can get these guys to be friends here. And go this way. This will work a little bit better with probably different pliers, but these are what I got, so these are what I'm using.
I had to take the trim off because I put the wrong stuff on. I just basically, I didn't have this here, so I decided to put on the other casing trim, this stuff around the door. I mean, I've done it before, but that's not what they wanted, so that had to come off, and now we're messing with this to get it back on there and make sure it looks proper. This stuff is a little smaller than the other stuff. I'm just cutting out a nail right now.
Basically the wrong type of trim?
Yeah. Well,
What type of trim should all the students look out for? And is there a type of name that in particular they should be using?
I don't know the specific name. It's just smaller looking stuff with more rivets on it. That's what goes around the door. That big flat stuff with only one rivet on it, that's what goes on your floor. Now it's basically the hint I can give you, because I really don't know the name. Unfortunately.
All right, now it's time for some biscuits and a spot of tea. These are our biscuits, and we are going to cover them in glue. We've already used, I don't know what that biscuit machine thing is called, but it made these holes in here. So we are going to cover these with glue using this little brush. You may recognize this from some of the plumbing work that we did. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get some wood glue on here. You want to make sure you're using wood glue. You do not want to be using any of the other adhesives that we have around here, just the wood glue. So we're going to get that all over on both sides. And make sure you get it all on the edges as well. And then kind of angle it in so you can get the other side. Okay. Gently nudge that in there. And round two. Definitely be really generous with the glue. You do want it to get all in any openings and create a really good seal. You want this to be a high quality, durable product. To make sure that you do not put any beverages, water bottles, sodas, or anything on your countertop until it has been sealed. Otherwise, you may create watermarks and you will have to sand your counter down before you can seal it. So really be careful that you and your partner are not casually setting things down on the counter, as we are prone to do. It's quite normal, but you can actually ruin the counter by doing that. So our priority right now is, as soon as we get this done, we're going to get this sealed up so that it cannot be damaged by that. Okay. And then we will just line these up and pop them in together. And you want that to be as firmly sealed as possible. We don't have clamps, so just make sure you really lean on it, put some pressure into it. Make sure it's flush on all sides. And if you have something heavy you can leave leaning on it, that would be great. Otherwise, we're just going to leave ours as is and go wash up all this glue off our hands. So we've got this mineral oil here, and we are going to use it to coat this countertop, and that is going to make it actually waterproof and stain proof. So let's get this bottle open here. And the directions on the back say to coat it and let it set in for 30 minutes, and then to repeat 3 to 4 coats for the initial application. So we will go ahead and put our first coat on here. So I'm going to apply it to the rag instead of the wood. I don't know if there's a way that's better. The bottle didn't say, but I feel like putting it on the rag first instead of on the wood prevents pooling and spots where you may have too much. So you're just going to work it into the wood. Make sure your wood is clean before you do this. You don't want to start with a bunch of sawdust on here. So I did wipe it down. We didn't get that on film. You're just going to have to take my word for it. But definitely make sure your counters are clean before you start doing this. You can kind of tell where it goes in because it does get a little bit darker. So you can see very obvious from one side to the other what has the oil on it and what doesn't. This is non-toxic, so you don't need to worry about wearing gloves. It will moisturize your skin as well. So this edge here is really thirsty, so I'm just going to kind of waterfall it over the edge because this part where we cut is just soaking up all the oil, and I need to really make sure it gets in there. And you also want to make sure you get on the underside. Think about when you're cooking, you may have something spill or drip, or even sometimes when you're reaching to open the drawer, your hands might be wet. So you want to protect the underside from moisture as well, not just the top and sides. it moving along here. And just as I did that part where I wiped oil all over the front of the counter, I realized that I should have done it. Start from the back so that you won't get oil all over yourself as you move forward, like I am about to.
So the counters look pretty good, but one thing I just brought to his attention is he does have a pretty good gap in between here. So we want to address that, make sure it's nice and flush up against, the two mating surfaces. It might have been just a small issue of just sanding or something, but we're going to take care of that and get those mated up a little proper. The other thing that we ran into, she was putting GFIs in each of your kitchen GFI circuits. You only need one GFI here, and then your other GFI is going to be where you put your home runs on this side. So your other GFI circuits are going to be your standard outlets, and that's all they need to be. They don't need to be GFI. So we're going to have her replace that back one back there and put just a regular outlet on it. So in your house, you should only have 3 GFIs, 2 in your kitchen and 1 by your panel. So since this wire did break earlier, we are going to put a hide junction box down here behind the oven, and we're going to have her repair that wire.
And trim. JC did trim over here. Door.
So let's take a look at this. So this turned out pretty good. The way I like to do it is I like to put my top piece on and then follow with the bottom piece all the way down. Because what happened is your door you might set your door one side higher than the other. So if you make your standard cuts of 81 inches, you might be too high off the ground. So I like to put my top piece on and then measure from the inside of my miter cut down to the floor and just do a custom fit, if you will. And one thing that'll help prevent is if you do that, one side is higher than the other, then your top piece is going to come out crooked. So I like to put my top piece on first, level it out, and then follow the rest.
Overall, so a few things to still take care of.
So there's a few things to take care of. So we'll get those addressed by tomorrow.